He breaks news at like 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. Hello there. Welcome to the Awesemo.com NFL strategy show presented by PrizePicks. Your favorite time and day of the week. It's Thursday, 11 o'clock on the East Coast, 11:03 to be exact. Thank Jordan Klein for that. I'm kidding. Jordan Klein is actually the one that gets on us whenever, I run downstairs to grab a water or something. This man is on it. But anyway, I digress. Favorite day of the week, favorite time of the week. Last time we're going to be doing this for a while. I'm Dave Loughran at Loughy _D, LOUGHY _D for those of you podcast listeners, joined by Matt Savoca at Draftaholic. And like I said, this is it. This is it. You got the Super Bowl. It's bittersweet. Should be a fun game, but this signals the end. And we won't be back here, Matt, until next September, this upcoming September. It's kind of sad, man.
It is kind of sad. It's a little surreal, right? Because we've been on the grind for this, the 23rd straight week of there being some sort of football to cover here at Awesemo. And that's not mentioning the preseason, which is a little more free form. And by the way, I just got a shout out there, hello there, like a little film noir. It was a dark and stormy night. It's very different for you.
You're used to the
there's always something, but I mean, it is the last matchup show. And we only have one game to cover. And so typically we would say this isn't a marathon matchups show, but you guys are completely wrong. There are 33 bets that OddsShopper currently has for the player props that are above 50% odds of hitting. We are going through every single one. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, man, I'm for it. You think we can do 2 hours here today?
If we needed to, I have no doubt we could.
Jordan just went, oh, God. No, you got the FanUp show coming up after us with Greg Ehrenberg and Rayen Patnaik, your boy Rinpack, right after this at noon. So stick around for all of that. Happy to have you guys with us as always. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. I mean, we got over a 50% thumbs up to viewer ratio right now. That's how you know the people watching with us are the people that do it every week of the year. I'm still going to see if we can get some of those marathon matchup shirts. I just want to give them out to some people that have been with us for what? This is the 22nd week of the season.
Yeah, we got to give the lifers here, and maybe we could have some sort of soft launch, and then like have a big push when when next season rolls around with some merch.
I had to get a cavity or two filled yesterday, man. Is there any worse experience than the dentist when they numb you up?
Dude, I hate the dentist.
Oh, it's the worst.
Absolutely hate the dentist.
My wife's a dental hygienist too, right? So she cleans my teeth. She's good at it. Very good at it. I don't feel a damn thing. But you come in there, popped it in the back here. It wasn't even a cavity. I think it was one of the fillings was breaking down, I take pretty good care of my teeth. I like to consider it genetics, Matt. I don't take any blame for this. I share no blame in that. But
absolutely not.
But I'm at my hockey game last night and I'm talking to my buddy and we agreed that when this happens, usually there's never any pain. Generally it's painless outside of a little pressure. The problem is that overwhelming feeling of dread that the pain is right around the corner, right? Mm-hmm. That the anesthesia is not going to work, that you're going to catch one to the root and you're just going to jump out of your chair. That's the fear that accompanies going to the dentist and having to get any dental work done. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong at all. In fact, this is the craziest thing. I had a dentist in my early 20s. They have since closed their doors, but they had a DVD player hooked up to like basically what looked like VR goggles, but this was like the early 2010s. So basically you put on these goggles, it was playing a DVD, so you could not see the treachery happening around you. And I will say that was a pretty sweet setup, but dentist sucks.
I prefer nitrous.
Yeah.
Have you ever hit the gas while you're in the dentist?
I've gotten the gas before. I had a root canal before. God, so it's a lot.
It's fun. I mean, this place doesn't do it. And again, I go to my wife's the practice there, but the place I went to before, I was getting cavities on purpose, Matt.
Oh, okay. It's just so we get the little clown nose and get in there.
No, but I did need my 2 top wisdom teeth pulled. I was like 24 years old, right? Mm-hmm. So they were in, like they never hurt or anything. But you have wisdom teeth in, it's hard to get to them back there. So they kept me awake for it, but they were fully in. They'd been in since I was like 17. And they just cranked up the gas. And thank God, because you hear that as they're cracking the tooth out and the pressure and they're pulling and they yank it out and the blood starts pouring. You gotta be gassed up for something like that, man. Gotta be. Crank it to the top.
I unfortunately have the exact memory that you have just triggered, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And look at the debauchery in our chat. There's people saying we stole nitrous tanks in high school. Oh my!
I tried. I could never get away with it.
Yeah.
You never been to a concert and they roll one out from underneath of their Honda Civic hatchback? You know, Jordan, you've never done that.
I have not seen that before.
What?
That's where.
Oh, in Philly, anybody that's from, I mean, I'm sure it happens elsewhere, but in Philly, you go to a game, you go to a concert, like a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert. You hear the clank, 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 and then the cops come and they clank it back under. Yeah, I mean, egregiously expensive. It's a huge ripoff, but. Anybody that's been around this way in their younger years, I probably haven't done it since more than that, a long time. But oh yeah, they roll it out from under the cars, Matt, and then they do 5 for $25, which is stupid because that doesn't sound like a discount at all. Yeah, but like these are.
Oh, I've heard of them.
Medical grade. Yeah, you never had the little Whippet cartridges that they have, like the tiny little Whippet cartridges. No,
I've seen them. I've seen those on the ground. I have. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, next time we hang out.
Just a little whiskey whippet. Classic.
Anyway, let's talk a little football, Matt. Feeling a little better. Feeling good. Got the coffee in me. You on your second cup of coffee today?
Oh, absolutely. I had a video recording this morning. Had to get that first cup in. Now we're on to the second. Updated some of the tools, made sure I was up to date with all the stuff we had at Awesemo going on, and we're in it now. The last game. I like that we're kind of dragging it out here. Maybe if you're listening, you're like, get to the game, analyze it already. This is the matchup show, but we've been looking at this stuff for 2 weeks now, and there's a lot to get into here for sure. But you can only talk about how good Cooper Kupp is so many times, how cool under pressure Joe Burrow has been so many times. I'm excited to talk some range of outcomes here, but it's also nice to chop it up and just shoot the breeze for a minute too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we should do too, because this is my third NFL show in 3 days, right? So I'll take a slightly different approach. I'll let you run with this as long as you need to today, Matt. make things a little bit easier. But we have ownership projections updated. We have the NFL Showdown Top Plays tool updated, which is the best one you're going to find out there, hands down. So all of that stuff, we got that at our disposal today. And free tools, if you're looking for free tools, you got NBA, a little free action going on there. With the NBA player projections, NHL ownership rankings are also free today. You don't need a sub or anything if you want to get in on that. But let's kick it off with the Rams. So they're 26.25 implied total. They're 4-point favorites here against the Bengals. I guess the biggest question, Matt, is let's start with this. If we're stacking, right? What are your preferred stacking options based on optimal lineup probability, based on salaries and ownership? And if you're talking DraftKings, based on what we're doing with that captain spot where you have to pay 1.5x?
Look, it's tough when you're talking about high salary players to take the plunge, because if they don't hit salary-based expectations, you've essentially sunk your lineup when you're taking one of those top two options in Los Angeles. But I'm honestly not getting cute with my builds here. I'm playing a ton of Cooper Kupp. In our latest run of our top plays tool on DraftKings, he's in the optimal lineup 56% of the time. I just really see no reason, unless you are specifically building a fade Cooper Kupp lineup, to go away from this guy. He's just the best player on the field. I like his odds to be MVP right now. I think they're at plus 550, where you can bet them on FanDuel. I mean, I just think that the way that the Rams win this game, the most likely way they meet their implied total is with Cooper Kupp simply doing what Cooper Kupp has done all season long. And Cincinnati, while playing better defensively of late, in fact, over the last 5 weeks, if you just look at those stats in terms of points allowed per game, they're up there in the top 10 of all teams in the league, just using their playoff stats going forward. But I don't know. I just don't see their secondary slowing Kupp and Stafford down. So I'm going to just a ton of Stafford and Kupp stacks and building it out with low salary, volatile options from there.
You mentioned Cooper Kupp with MVP odds, and I've got to tell you, the show we do every year right before the Super Bowl, talking about all of our favorite props, some crazy ones, but also just some really good ones. I've been digging. I think I found some great ones out there that there's an edge with, but the MVP one is always my favorite. And I tell you guys every single year that we've done this, usually it's going to be a quarterback. And if it's 2 star quarterbacks, I'm always looking to take the MVP of the team I think is going to win. Last year, my biggest bet last year, my biggest prop bet last year was Tom Brady to win the MVP. Or I'm sorry, Brady, right? Wasn't last year Brady? Yeah, Tom Brady to win the MVP, because it was either him or Mahomes. I mean, you're not. Mahomes was a young up and comer, right? The guy that you were looking to usurp Tom Brady in the rankings. Who knows if that's going to, where we're at now, but just in terms of where they stood, and Tom Brady's Tom Brady. So it kind of didn't matter what anybody else did. You saw the year before that with Patrick Mahomes. If I'm getting the years mixed up, you know where I'm going.
No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
Where Damian Williams probably should have won it,
Mm-hmm.
But this one's a little different to me, because I do have the Rams winning. Now, if the Rams don't win, it ain't going to be Cooper Kupp. I do have the Rams winning, and Cooper Kupp is the type of player that can have that game where he is just outshining his own quarterback because no other receiver does anything big. So I went back and looked. Remember, Julian Edelman had that MVP in a very low scoring game. Probably has to be a lower scoring game to get us there. And then before that, the last one was Santonio Holmes back in the game against Arizona. And then Hines Ward and Deion Branch back to back a few years before there. So in the last 17 years, you've had 4 wide receivers. I could certainly see it being Cooper Kupp this year if the Rams win this game, for sure.
Absolutely. And you hate to say that maybe there's a little bit of marketing when it comes to the Super Bowl MVP, but I do think the quarterbacks that they tend to favor when it's sort of a toss-up, whether it should be a skill position player or that quarterback of the winning team, they tend to favor the quarterbacks with, dare I say, more marketability. And though you might say, look at 2013, Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was about to cash in on one of the largest contracts we had ever seen from a quarterback if he won that Super Bowl, and he went out there and did it. Nick Foles played undeniably well, but for the most part, we see the NFL anointing the winner of the Super Bowl quarterback when it's a quarterback that is sort of in that NFL fraternity. Not to say that these quarterbacks aren't yet. And Joe Burrow on the other side, I mean, even if he has a mediocre game and the Bengals win, he's going to win the MVP. He absolutely is. But I just don't feel like the NFL feels as strongly about Stafford's story as they do about Brady's or Mahomes. And that's nothing against Stafford. It's just against you're exactly right. S tier that those players are in.
No, you're 100% right. And that's why if you're betting the MVP, you have to understand that this is not, it's by people. It's a subjective award, right? So you have to take emotion into this, right? You have to take just overall sentiment into this on how people feel about it. If they win and Joe Burrow throws even like one touchdown and doesn't get picked off, it's probably Joe Burrow. On the other side, though, yeah, I see it a little differently. And keep in mind, Foles threw for almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he caught a touchdown. And hold on a second, too. Foles is one of the cool, and I honestly don't say this as an Eagles fan. Foles is one of the coolest stories ever to win a Super Bowl, right? I mean, the guy came in when Carson Wentz went down. They were like 12-2 or 12-1 at the time. Comes in and everyone says our season's over. They were underdogs in every playoff game that they had, and Foles led them to a Super Bowl against the greatest quarterback ever. So of course he's going to get the MVP, and he should have. But he
out-offensed Brady in that game. Remember, Brady threw for 500 yards.
Yeah,
it wasn't like Philly D, which was great that year, stopped New England. They did nothing. Foles just
Brandon Graham had that one strip sack towards the end that made the difference. Yes. But that was it. And again, though, the narrative surrounding someone like Nick Foles was awesome. Everyone wanted to see it, right? Especially so many people out there despise Tom Brady and the Patriots. I'm really not one of them. I'm really, even though, trust me, a lot of Philly fans do not like the Patriots or Brady. I never really cared all that much. But with Nick Foles, people wanted to see him win. With Joe Burrow, and I talk to people, I listen to stuff. People want, I don't think he will, but people want to see Joe Burrow win. So, yeah, I can't wait to do that show tomorrow, Matt. It's tomorrow. I think we're 11 Eastern. You, Greg, and myself. We got some awesome props to go over too. We already got them all down.
Fun bets show. Oh man, that's gonna be great.
Hopefully you guys will hang out with us. But the running back position is weird here with the Rams, where you have Cam Akers, Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson, who McVay said he has a shot at getting on the field. We haven't seen him since week 16, and he's dealing with that knee. He was on the IR. I'm torn here, Matt, because, and Eric, I think Lindquist yesterday with Gajeski and myself brought up some good points where it's like, hey, listen, we really don't know. And I made a counter argument when he was talking about Sony Michel. I said, yeah, but he's not cheap. And he brought up a point that I knew was coming because he's right. Sony Michel isn't cheap, and he's not considerably cheaper than Akers is. But that's going to just draw a huge disparity in ownership. So we have to look at this from a couple different angles. I'm still not positive where I land on it, especially if you're someone that's only playing like 3 lineups, maybe 5 lineups, and you can't just spray everywhere with 150. That type of person might be a little bit more hamstrung in this spot, or at least a little bit more having a tougher time pulling the trigger on one decision or the other. So we got you with us today for the first time since we talked about the Super Bowl. How are you attacking the backfield for the Rams?
I completely understand the game theory play behind going for a player like Sony Michel. And it's not like Cam Akers has been tremendous, especially as a rusher. I think he was under 3 yards a carry last game, and he got banged up. As you said, his shoulder is not 100%, missed a bunch of practices. They say they expect him to play, but I get it. I just believe that the Rams, assuming health here, they want to run Cam Akers. They want Cam Akers behind Matt Stafford 80% of the time. And Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel are going to mix in. And if injuries sway Sean McVay, I don't think he's going to move away here. I don't think he's going to suddenly just lean on Akers, just be stubborn about it. But I think that it's going to take a little bit to move them away from Cam Akers as a starter and as a workhorse here. It's not like this team relies on the run. They use run as a complement to their passing game, to set up their passing game. They are top 2 in the NFL in our game script adjusted pass rate and top 5 in the NFL in game script adjusted pace of play. This is a fast pass first team. So they just need a rusher who can keep the offense off balance. And I believe that they think that Cam Akers is the best person to do that. In terms of optimal lineup percentage, I'm still getting to a lot more Cam Akers than I am Sony Michel. again, large field tournaments, you're trying to beat a bunch of people. This is the I get it move, but it's not like you're saving a huge amount of salary on DraftKings. What is it, 5K on for Sony Michel versus
that's what? Well, that exactly, Matt. That's what I'm saying. It's a $1,400 difference in the utility spot.
So you're going, if you're using something like Fantasy Cruncher, you're pretty much going to have to like put your thumb on the projections here and boost up Sony Michel or bring down Cam Akers if you want to get really any Sony Michel. I'm getting a little bit of him right now, but it's really just because it's a contrarian play. From a value perspective, it just doesn't make a lot of sense with our projections right now.
I do get it. And that's kind of where I was coming in at. So the one argument is strictly game theory. That's pretty much it at his price point, right? I don't think there are any other arguments outside of just game theory. And, you know, last year there were over 500 people that chopped first place in the Millie. That's a lot. Maybe low leverage plays that aren't, you know, terribly dumb could be okay. Like, I'm not telling you to go play a guy that literally isn't going to see a snap and just hope that someone gets injured. I'm not saying that, but Sony Michel could get there. Just maybe he gets 8-9 touches. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Here's what I will say. I think there's a clearly more effective back in the passing game, and that's Cam Akers. And remember, this Rams team, they're not an effective rushing team. 3.8 yards per rush this season. That's not strong at all. It's about what this team can do in their passing game. That's how they win. And Cam Akers is the better pass catcher of the three, really.
Do you think Darrell Henderson plays?
I think he suits up, but I think his most likely range of outcomes involves like 2 to 5 snaps, or maybe a symbolic suit up because of how hard he's worked this year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, I think you have to suit him up. If Akers has missed this much practice, then you got to suit up 3 running backs, because if he gets hurt, then you need somebody other than Michel.
For sure. And Henderson's not a bad guy to fill those shoes.
Not at all. Yeah.
The tight end position. This is what makes this game interesting. It's rare that you have players coming in legitimately questionable to Super Bowls, right? At least guys that you're talking about rostering. I don't think there's any way Higbee plays. Maybe I'm wrong here, but it doesn't seem like he is going to play. He still isn't practicing. You know, you're a few days out. This guy still hasn't gotten on the field. If he's not on the field today, I don't think it's going to happen. And Sean McVay was asked, I'll read this. Sean McVay told Henderson on Monday, I guess that's a reporter, that I don't think so regarding the tight end's chances to suit up this week at practice. So, I mean, it seems unlikely. The problem is Kendall Blanton is the furthest thing from a value play. What's his price at? Hold on a second. Why can't I find him?
I'm looking it up right now.
I don't know why. I mean, he should be right there.
He is at 4,600 on DraftKings.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's why I couldn't find him. He's literally he's $200 cheaper than Tyler Higbee.
That doesn't make a lot of sense at all. I mean, here's the thing. He's priced up like Higbee isn't going to play, right? So we can't really slide in his usage. Blanton has been used a little bit in the red zone, but we can't slide in the level of usage that Tyler Higbee has seen in this offense if Kendall Blanton is in. So it just really makes no sense fundamentally to have his salary be the same thing. This isn't like a Dalvin Cook, Alexander Madison situation, and it's priced kind of like that. So that makes no sense to me. If Higbee's ruled out, it's just more Kupp, more Beckham, maybe Ben Skoranek. Certainly Van Jefferson gets boosted up, but Kendall Blanton still seems like a low probability play. And yeah, he's actually one of my least favorite plays as it stands right now. I'll get more of him in large fields if we do end up ruling Tyler Higbee out, but that position does not excite me if Higbee isn't there.
You know, if Higbee, I always enjoy these, and we're going to talk about it tomorrow, but one of the ones I told you is going to be fun to talk about for props. number of players from a team that have a pass reception, like the Bengals are at 6.5 right now, and the under is actually even money. I'll tell you why I really like that tomorrow. Pending CJ Usama news, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams are at 6.5 too. And, you kind of look at this team. Both of them have pretty concentrated offenses, which I think is what makes a showdown slate like this hard, which is what makes value scarce on a slate like this. So you have it. Work through this with me. Let's assume that Higbee's out. You have Kupp, you have Beckham, you've got Van Jefferson. We'll throw Blanton in there. And then you have Skoranek. And then I guess you're talking Michelle and Akers.
Yeah, I think Michelle and Akers probably catch a pass. I think 2 of those 3 running backs catching a pass seems reasonable.
But this is the thing, right? And Ben and I were talking about this yesterday. There's really tight windows here, and say in the sense of like the ceiling for the Rams, unless they run a trick play, is 7 players, right? It's got to be the ceiling. Unless you really want to say that 3 running backs get receptions. I don't think that's very practical. The ceiling is like 7. The floor is pretty much 5. So you're trying to hit that window with this, but they are both concentrated offenses. And when it comes to Kendall Blanton, I don't know how much you're going to get out of him, but I will say if Higbee's out, you still have to consider playing Blanton. I mean, I think while he is a little bit too expensive, this is one of those guys who could go, 4 for 45 and a touchdown. And at that price point, it's enough. I wouldn't be shocked if this game is not as high scoring as everyone thinks it is.
I guess so. I mean,
where else do you go?
In the first 20 weeks of the season, Blanton didn't have more than 3 targets in a single game.
Right.
So 4 for 45 does seem like, it's not out of the range of outcomes entirely, but we're talking about a 1 percentile outcome.
Not if Higbee's out, we aren't. I mean, he had 5 for 57 last week or last game with Higbee out.
You're right. I might have to adjust that.
Like I'm not excited about it. Trust me, I'm not. But what I'm saying is, put it this way: if Higbee was out and Blanton was like $1,000, he's the highest. He's one of the highest owned players on the slate, right?
Yeah.
That isn't to say that he's great at this price, but he played every snap that Higbee wasn't on the field.
Yeah, I mean, a 1K player, a 1K every snap tight end in a 1-game slate would have been a smash. Absolutely. So I'm with you. I guess I'm just working through the fact that the 4,600 seems egregious to me. This Rams team, we haven't really talked about it from an overview standpoint, but they lead the Bengals in basically every efficiency stat I would want to see if I was looking at which team was going to dominate offensively in points per game, and opponent points per game, and first downs per game, and yards per game, in opponent yards per game, in yards per play, yards per pass. I mean, this Rams offense just appears on paper better than Cincinnati. Not to say that decides what happens on the field here. So if you want to play an every snap tight end, despite them being overpriced in a large field tournament, that makes all the sense in the world to me. I just think I'm probably going to find ways to get to as much Beckham and Kupp as humanly possible.
I got you. He ran 36 routes and Higbee played almost 20% of snaps. So I guess I'm a little bit higher on him than you are. I'm not telling anyone to get excited about Kendall Blanton. I'm saying that I think he is a legitimate replacement in terms of snap count. And it looks like he's a legitimate replacement in terms of routes run. So is he as talented as Higbee? Probably not. But I think he's going to assume the same role. That's what I'm saying. I think he'll have the exact same role. And I don't know.
You've got allies in chat, that's for sure. Gibran is saying Blanton is a Higbee 1-for-1 replacement. So if it's a 1-for-1 replacement, that's what they did with the salary.
I don't know if he is. Like, we'll have to find out. But based on the routes and the targets he was last week or last game, like legitimately was, So anyway, what are you doing with Odell and Skoranek and Van Jefferson? Like, what are we doing with those guys? Because I said yesterday, I will die cold, emaciated, starving, malnourished on the Van Jefferson hill. There's no way I can jump off now, Matt. It's just not in me.
That's fair. And I mean, you're still looking at a big play receiver in Van Jefferson, averaging over, I believe, 15 yards per reception here. It's just that Odell Beckham's been quietly awesome, especially the last 3 games here in the playoffs. 4 for 4 in the wild card round, caught 6 of 8 targets in the divisional round, and then 9 of 11 targets for 113 yards last week. The touchdowns keep going to Cooper Kupp here, but it's not like they haven't been feeding Odell Beckham. You know, he's sitting at 12.4 yards per reception in the playoffs, and he's had 23 targets, catching 19 of them, and he's been awesome. And so thinking about this team having a secondary receiver playing this well, I just, if lineups where I can't get to Cooper Kupp because I'm building around another game environment, another one of these top players like somebody on the Bengals, I'm really just trying my best to get to Odell Beckham. Van Jefferson is certainly my next choice there compared to Skoranek. And as you said, I'm a little bit lower on Blanton with my current lineup setup. But yeah, I mean, really, there isn't anybody else that I'm really considering here. I don't have a lot of faith in Ben Skoranek at all. So right now, I have like 30%, nearly a third of my lineups have Odell Beckham either in the captain spot or the regular flex position here. And I might boost that by the time we get to Sunday.
Gotcha. Jefferson's definitely been banged up. There's no doubt about it. He's still limited in practice, so I'll be keeping a close eye on that for sure. If he had 2 weeks and he's still struggling, that concerns me. My hope was that he would have 2 weeks and then he'd be back to full strength. Look, I would just say all of you guys should listen to nothing when it comes to me talking about Van Jefferson, but I just get suckered into the fact that he has had that deep ball, upside, and he's cheap. That's really all it comes down to. It's just been a while. It's been a while since we've had those games. It's probably back. He had a nice little stretch there between weeks 12 and 14 where he found the end zone in all 3 of them. He had a 52-yard touchdown, a 72-yard touchdown. That's some beautiful stuff. Just need to get back there. And it's tough because his rapport with Matthew Stafford recently has looked rocky at best. So
yeah, there are people in chat saying he's butterfingers. That's the thing about it's the old Deshaun Jackson axiom. And it's funny because Jackson was literally on this team. The fact that it doesn't matter if they drop 2. If they catch 1 and it goes for 70 yards and a score at his salary,
right,
that's going to work out just fine
on a showdown slate.
Exactly. And so, both of these players, Odell Beckham and Van Jefferson, have huge big playability, especially in this offense. But, you got games in Van Jefferson's game log this year where he had a 68-yard catch, a 79-yard catch. You just don't have that kind of upside in one play from that many players. And so that's really what you're paying for in that extra salary. What is he, 5,200 on DraftKings?
Yep.
He doesn't look great from a median projection, but when you're trying to suss out what mid-tier salary player actually has that ceiling where if things go exactly right, they could compete with those upper tier salary players that hopefully disappoint. Van Jefferson definitely fits that bill, especially on the offense that's favored for more, or that's implied for more points.
No doubt. Kevin Koenig says if Skoranek caught that TD, everyone would be on him. God, that would be great. Seriously, I would love for everybody to be getting on Ben Skoranek. He ran 10 routes. He was targeted once. This is a guy that is very, very likely not going to do anything. So I personally would have enjoyed that greatly if he was popular to this week as a value option because he is extraordinarily cheap. Maybe you want to get there. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. If this game is low scoring, no. Ben Skoranek has like a 25-yard reception that isn't a touchdown, and he still ends up in the optimal. Like that can happen. And I know you're skeptical here, but what I'm saying, Matt, is there is no other real value. If you're talking about someone that's going to be on the field, Name me anybody else in this game from either side that will be on the field that is as cheap as Ben Skoranek. So I wouldn't be surprised if he catches 0 passes, but I also wouldn't be shocked that some smart people get him in some lineups because of how cheap he is. And there's literally nobody else out there if they're going with some really top heavy lineups.
Well, how dare you insult Chris Evans, who we currently have projected for 0.25 DraftKings points, and Mike Thomas of the Cincinnati. I believe he was actually drafted by the Rams in like the 5th or 6th round. We need Gajeski to here to confirm that for me. But yeah, besides that, Ben Skoranek is the lowest salary player that we have projected for at least 1 fantasy point. So point well taken. I guess we technically have some other plays for our millionaire maker players, but I think that point's true. If Skoranek had caught that touchdown, he would be much more popular. Right now, as you know, in our optimal lineups tool, our top plays tool for this showdown slate, Skoranek, despite the low salary, has a minus 2.7% leverage score, meaning his ownership is still too high compared to his optimal lineup percentage.
Yeah, I prefer not to get any Ben Skoranek, but if it's a low scoring game, you've seen crazier things happen. I've seen solo Millie winners this year with a 1 or a 2 in their lineup for showdowns. So you have to look at it from all angles. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I prefer not to get too much Ben Skoranek. I would prefer, however, for you guys to check out PrizePicks because it's, people say no brainer, and usually it just is not true. This is a legitimate no-brainer decision because our sponsor PrizePicks, if you sign up there using the link in the description or the one that Jordan Klein's about to throw in the chat right now, you get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, $90 value. Maybe you've wanted to check it out for a while now and you just haven't had the chance. All of our tools for even when football's over, you want to dabble in PGA, you're already doing so. NBA, NHL, MMA, UFC, right? NASCAR is back, esports. We have all of the tools that we have for football for all of these sports. Ownership, projections, top stacks if it's applicable, top plays like the top driver, the top golfer tool where we run simulations. We give you the likelihood that they're going to be, the top overall performer. You just check it out yourself. It's going to be free. Go to PrizePicks, use the link. Use the promo code Awesemo as well. Get $100 first match deposit bonus when you sign up and deposit for the first time, and check out their platform. The best part about this is it's not just some goofy platform that like, oh, we'll give you a free month and you'll never play there. No, you will. People love PrizePicks. It's a daily player prop based platform. No sharks, optimizers, mass entries, nothing like that. You're just building lineups, right? It could be 2, 3, 4, or 5 props, however you want to do it, with player props. No juice on either side of these. You're just taking the over or you're taking the under. And unlike your traditional books where if you hit 4 or 5 legs on a parlay, you get nothing. If you make a lineup and you hit 4 or 5, you still 2x your money. That's sick. You 10x it if you go 5 of 5. You could do the power play where you go with a 4-player lineup, but you got to hit all 4. You can 10x on that. So, I mean, a real way to build your bankroll, sustain it, but also make some great money over there. Get a free month of Awesemo as well. Again, everything on the site for every single sport, and $100 first match deposit bonus using the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. What more needs to be said? Seriously. Download it in the App Store, Google Play Store, or go to prizepicks.com and check it out. Oh, and use our free player prop tool at Awesemo. Use OddsShopper. Use the expected win rate. I mean, if you want to get an edge and make life way easier, use OddsShopper. It's totally free to help you get the best lineups built with these player props. PrizePicks.com, sponsor of the Strategy Show. All right, Matt, let's talk about the Bengals. How much Joe Burrow and how much Cincinnati are you getting to? Is this a spot where you're confident that they'll be able to move the football? Because I had some, healthy and respectful disagreements yesterday with Matt and Eric. They tend to see this game being higher scoring, Joe Burrow being able to move the ball pretty freely. I think he could have some trouble in this one. I do think it's the toughest matchup he's faced in the postseason yet, including the Kansas City Chiefs. Your thoughts, sir?
So I'm trying to work through my biases here because I like high scoring Super Bowls so much. I mean, you just forget the narratives like that Atlanta, New England Super Bowl, the Philly, New England Super Bowl. Those are incredibly fun games. And maybe it was the fact that I was sitting at a Utah airport, and no offense, it's a beautiful airport in Salt Lake City, but the people I was enjoying the Super Bowl 53 with, New England versus the Rams, and there was absolutely no scoring in that game. I was like, I'm not even sure I like football anymore. You know,
that game sucked. Game sucked.
And it's
what were you
one of those
doing?
Things
what were you doing in Utah?
I was actually at the Sundance Film Festival. If you're at all into film, even if you're not connected to the industry, I can't get a group of friends, get like an Airbnb, make it affordable. It's really cool. You can catch all the movies you want. It's actually an incredible time.
That's
I digress.
Pretty cool.
It was awesome. It was not the ideal way to take in a Super Bowl, and I just want to say all this because I want scoring so badly, and I know that both offenses are capable of scoring. But remember, PFF during the regular season graded the Rams as the #1 overall defense in team PFF defensive grades. They're one of the strongest teams in terms of being top 10 in yards per pass attempt allowed during the regular season and in yards per rush attempt allowed during the regular season. I think the narrative where Joe Burrow is outplaying his age, outplaying his actual team that he's on, he's just sort of operating on another level right now, is a way you can play this slate. Absolutely. He's got receivers like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, who if they get open for a couple of big plays, like forget what the game script was supposed to be. It's on now. Like that could absolutely happen here. But when we're just looking at probabilities, Joe Burrow is that player who's kind of getting squeezed out. He's a quarterback on a 1-game slate. I still have him in like 40% of my lineups when you look at the captain spot and the flex spot. But in terms of comparing him to the field, I'm probably going to be under. That obviously freaks me out, but it's just kind of the way things are going right now with the way I'm building lineups.
I get it for sure. Hey, would you Dante DiVincenzo is going to the Kings. Interesting. What? I'm still waiting on this Harden. Would you consider yourself a thespian?
A thespian? I don't know what that definition is.
What?
I guess so.
Related to the arts and theater.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I enjoy it more than anything now these days, though.
Nice. What films were at the film festival? Give me a good indie film that played that would be memorable. Human Centipede.
Human Centipede. There was a wild documentary that I believe is on Hulu, which was pretty darn funny, called The Amazing Jonathan documentary. The Amazing Jonathan, if you don't know, is like a Vegas magic act in the 80s and 90s. And he's kind of a wild character. And this documentarian is pretty funny, like wrote for some sitcoms, and he kind of follows this absolutely wild subject through his life. I had a lot of fun doing that. I'm blanking. One of the things that was really cool the year that I went, it was the 20th anniversary of the Blair Witch Project premiering at Sundance.
Yes, of course.
And they brought back the directors and they had a midnight screening of it. That's one of the coolest movie experiences I've ever had.
I'm going to have to do it sometime. Is it always in Utah?
Yeah. Here's the issue with it, Loughy, though. It is 2 weeks and it's been over Super Bowl weekend. Now
I probably need a connection anyway and couldn't probably do that. I'm not going over Super Bowl weekend. That's not happening. Yeah. Serge Ibaka just got traded. Okay, they're rolling in. Josh Engelman, by the way. He's got the trade deadline show coming up. You should check that out. Hang out with him. I'm jumping on that shit if Harden trade goes down. Still think it's possible. When is he doing that? What time is that at, Jordan? I don't even see it on here. He's going live, right? I think he's doing it by himself, though. I think he's producing it on his own and everything. So I don't see it on here. 2:00, 1:00? I don't know. 1:30 Eastern time. Okay. Yeah. So
Mark Smith in chat. He's saying Harden isn't getting traded.
I know. I told him I'm going to ban him. I'm going to ban his ass. We don't know, dude. Nobody knows. Yes, it would be more advantageous to some extent to trade him, but in the offseason, but we don't know. Come on. Bengals, though, running back Joe Mixon. it's hard not to just look at Joe Mixon again and have a lot of interest there. But do you agree that he is $3,000 more expensive than Cam Akers?
I don't know if he absolutely should, but like, let's just look at this. Take the salaries away from this. Just look at the game situation. Joe Mixon is the only running back whose touches you can trust. If you're looking at 20 touch probability or 20 opportunity probability, it is Joe Mixon compared to the field, and probably Joe Mixon takes it in terms of overall probability. You want touches because from touches often comes production. We don't know if he's going to be efficient. Los Angeles was actually better by the end of the season in terms of ranking against the run than they were against the pass. Now, I still think that they are a defense designed to stop the pass. But one thing that's really interesting about the Cincinnati Bengals, especially from a DFS perspective, is that there are two ways that this game goes better than expected for the Bengals, right? One is that their offense has enough firepower to just keep up with the Rams in some sort of shootout game. And two, they have a running back who, if that line gets going and they are able to keep the Rams, again, that are built for the pass rush as well on defense, off balance, suddenly if Joe Mixon gets a few big plays, scores a touchdown, then they're in business that way. They will keep running it down the Rams' throat. So I think he's a solid DFS play. I just don't know if it's the most likely outcome that he actually hits his salary-based expectation.
I hear you. I think the Bengals are just one of those tougher teams this week. You have Jamar, you have a secondary for the Rams that is really not as stellar as you believe. They're a good defense. Their pass rush is filthy. I want to get to a decent amount of Rams defense. I think they could still give up points, but still easily get there. So that's not a big concern of mine. Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and then CJ Uzomah. This is another one. Him and Higbee are both dealing with that MCL strain. But it looks like he has a better chance of playing.
I think Uzomah's going to play. He had that dramatic. Did you see this dramatic thing that he did with his knee brace?
No.
He was starting a press conference and it was right off the practice field and he ripped off his knee brace and he flung it to midfield, saying the brace is off. I'm good to go. I think he's going to play.
All right. Well, he still hasn't practiced. So I got to see something, but
I agree.
It also wouldn't shock me that he plays and is limited and Drew Sample plays. And then they just keep Drew Sample in to block more, to protect Burrow. And then you just see everything going to the wide receivers, of which they really only run 3 of them. I know you saw Mike Thomas play 2 snaps last game. Once in a while, he'll get in for a snap or 2, Matt, but this is a 3 wide receiver receiving core. That's it. It's Chase, Boyd, and Higgins. That's it.
Yep. Trent Taylor will be the other person you see on the field if it's not any of them. That's what happened. We saw more Trent Taylor, but it's not like he got a target. He just got more snaps on the field. That's not somewhere we're going. What?
When?
We saw Trent Taylor on the field last game.
When 1 snap. And Mike Thomas played 2 snaps.
Yeah. So there you go. Wow. It was 1 snap. The only reason I remember that is because two of us sitting at the bar was going, who is number 11 on the
I thought
Bengals?
The same thing. I didn't know.
Because remember they had Erickson. He was like a returner who was number 11. But yeah. Okay. So
Alex
1
Erickson?
snap. Forget it. Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. He was there last year, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is he gone?
He is.
I guess
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you prioritize these guys on ownership and salary and everything? And what about captaining them?
So I think all 3 receivers are absolutely in play. I really like T. Higgins when you look at his ceiling probability compared to salary-based expectations. But let's not kid ourselves. Jamar Chase is having one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen. If you're looking at anybody other than Cooper Kupp to lead this game in receiving, I think it's Jamar Chase way ahead of Odell Beckham. If you told me that Jamar Chase was the reason the Bengals won this game and he was the long shot MVP winner, that doesn't that doesn't surprise me at all. That's probably what, the 5th or 6th most likely thing to happen in this game. I'm not saying it definitely will, but boy, that seems very reasonable. I mean, as good as Jalen Ramsey was this year and has been for many years, it's not like he hasn't been beat on 1 or 2 plays that could change the course of the game. And if you look at these 3 wide receivers in our top plays tool, they all have positive leverage in the flex play. So even if they are slightly negative leverage, some of them in the captain spot, those are just rounding errors, right? Like I can get overweight on any one of those players. So from a value perspective, I guess it's Higgins, but really I'm just trying my darndest to get to Chase.
Jordan, is your Twitch name Grown Simba?
Get out of here.
How did I know? How did I know? Grown, where does that come from? But what does it mean?
So it's like an adult lion, you know? Like when Simba grows up, he's the king kind of thing?
Yeah, like that Simba when he grew up.
Exactly, yeah.
Accepted his responsibilities.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what your name should be?
What's that?
I always forget to put producer cam on when there's a good time to put producer cam. That be too long?
I did it. I put it on now. There we go.
Okay. It's too late now. I mean, there's nothing left to say. Anyway. Your background looks good. Like, dude, if you clean that up a little bit back there, background doesn't look bad at all. You got a nice pad. Nice place.
There's always that California sun that I'm jealous of, dude.
Yeah.
You got to show
up. It's crazy, man. Looks good.
Sleepless Joe Jackson.
I love it, man. I love it. All right. I did mention free content. If you guys ever want to jump over with us at Awesemo, though, awesemo.com/join. You can do a week, a month, whatever you want. And for anybody asking about the trade deadline show, we just mentioned it, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. I also hope, I mean, you guys hang, and I know a lot of you are always saying, like, when are we going to do a fun show where we can knock some back, drink a little bit, have some fun? We're doing a ranking show, Super Bowl ranking show, everything from Super Bowl halftime performances to food, to best, worst games, everything. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. Ben Rasa, Eric Thinquist, myself tonight, 8 p.m., right? Put the kids to bed. Tell the wife you're going to go hang out with the boys, and we're going to have some drinks. I mean, Jordan, right? You said you got a bottle of vodka in the freezer that you're going to crack open?
Yeah, I got a bottle of that. We will definitely open up, yeah.
I got a fresh bottle of Jack Daniels. See, I don't need to... The good stuff to me is useless, Matt, because I'll just rip through it as I would anything else. That's the problem.
I am a fan of fancy liquors in fancy places, like a win in Rome situation.
I do not order Jack Daniels. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to remember that time we were at this and we drank this. That's the kind of memory I want to make. Like, I don't need to sit at my house with the people I love and I see all the freaking time with the fanciest liquors.
Exactly. Like, I'm not Four Roses, love it, Woodford, all that stuff. Some of the I'm not drinking Johnny Blue on a live stream at 8 p.m. on a Thursday night. That's all.
You want to hear my Johnny Blue story?
What's up?
I got a Johnny Blue story for you.
Fire away. But join us tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have some drinks together. Whatever you do, I don't judge. Come hang out. Make it happen.
So back in the day, I was a young pup in New York City, and I was working as a cater waiter. And I was assigned to quite a fancy event in Lincoln Square. It was overlooking, this Central Park view is unbelievable. There was multiple pop artists who you definitely would know the name of. There were 2 presidents in that room. It was a pretty wild night. And at the end, there was a toast that was supposed to be done for everyone in the room. However, this room of super, super fancy people, many of them had places to be by 9 p.m. and had left, leaving carts of filled Johnny Blue in cups backstage that were going to be thrown away. And I did not usually drink ever on the job. And I found a time.
You had to preface that.
I found a time to
imbibe,
if you will. I made sure some of that got thrown away in a very specific manner.
I bet.
Dude,
what a gold mine.
I'll never forget it. Like just looking at like a full cart full of like 50 toasts of Johnny Blue that were going to go to waste.
How many did you rip?
I don't remember, but I'm proud of the number.
All right. I love it.
It tasted amazing.
Johnny Blue is awesome, man. It's good stuff. But again, I wouldn't buy a bottle of it just out of principle. I would, like, I got a couple bottles that I have tucked away for special occasions, but when the buddies come over, we're drinking and it all has the same effect, you know? Maybe if I have my next kid or something, we'll break out something good. But as of now, well, Jack Daniels, maybe some Jameson. The Jameson Black Barrel is nice too. A buddy of mine grabbed me that the other day during around Christmas for a Pollyanna gift. I don't know if you know what Pollyannas are. Some people call them white elephant, maybe, or pink elephant.
Oh, like you gift them around and you like.
Everybody picks a number. Swap. Everyone picks a number and you don't know who it is, and then you exchange gifts. Yeah, it's a fun way to do things with friends. Yeah, it's fun. Anyway, close out the Bengals for me, Matt. Anything else here that we want to talk about? Like, if Usama's out, do we play Sample? If he's in, do we play him? I worry that he's going to be limited. I really do.
I actually think that's the most likely outcome, and right, that's the worst, because it probably means Usoma needs to get there with a touchdown. You know, one of the things we saw Usoma hit in a showdown slate earlier in the season, but he was doing it on catch and run plays, on tight end screens that they are definitely willing to call for him when he's healthy. I do not think that will be in the play calling for Drew Sample here. Tyler Boyd, we really haven't spoken of at all. He definitely is a player that I'm interested in terms of projection compared to salary-based expectation. He looks really good on paper. He's firmly in the you can play him category, but in terms of expected fantasy points, he's at half the number of expected fantasy points, half the level of opportunity of players like Higgins and Chase. So it really is sort of an outlier when Boyd hits and those players don't. And that's really what you need to have happen if you're going to fade Higgins and Chase and play a player like Boyd. I don't see why you don't have to go there, in my opinion, even though he looks decent on paper.
Yeah, I get that. The only thing I would say, not really to counter it, but is if Burrow is under constant duress, Boyd would be one of those guys that you might be able to get the ball out quicker to, especially if Usama doesn't play or is limited. You might see a little bit more of that. Now, granted, listen, you can get the ball to Chase anywhere on the field and just let him work his magic afterwards. But a slot guy like Boyd, I do think could benefit a little bit from that. But I'll say this much: like if Usama's out and it's Drew Sample at 4,200 or Boyd at 5,400, you're going Boyd all day there. So I do think at least if you put it in context, Boyd's better than some of those guys below him where it just gets heinous, Matt. That's where I would draw the line.
100%. If you're, we're talking about a player who has a 97% route participation rate sitting at 5,400 on the Cincinnati Bengals, who it's not like they're, huge underdogs in this game. It just takes a little swing of the game script for them to be, scoring more points than their opponent, in which case then their probability of their tertiary wide receiver hitting is far from zero. It's just not somewhere, if you're making 3 to 5 lineups, you don't have to look at that value and say, like, how do I fit Tyler Boyd in? You're prioritizing different players here other than Boyd.
Adam Baum, mother, and we're going to turn this over. Stick around. Same exact stream FanUp strategy show coming up right after this with Greg and Ryan. Says, all vodka is the same, especially mixed with sour apple mix. I totally disagree. This is what I'm saying. I don't pride myself on being fancy. One may actually say that I have an underdeveloped palate, right? I mean, I will eat some shit, but not actors. You know what I mean, Matt. I'm not somebody.
Some figurative shit.
Man, listen, a $20 burger or $30 burger, I guarantee I could find you an $8 burger that tastes just as good. Most people would disagree with that. Oh, you're crazy, Loughy. You need bison meat. No, I don't. I mean, a good burger is a good burger. If it tastes good to me, I don't care what you have to say about it because it tastes good to me. But if you're buying Nikolai vodka in a plastic, gallon bottle, you may need psychological treatment because those
are lighting your esophagus on fire.
Oh, it's disgusting, man. It's just disgusting. Like Matt, what I'm saying is you may not think I have any standards, but I at least have some standards, right? Like Jack Daniels is still somewhat respectable in the sense that I'm not trying to poison myself.
There's like a minimum threshold, right? Like
correct.
The maximum can be kind of wasted on mundane moments in life. But I'm past the Georgie vodkas of my life as well. Like I'm proud to be past that. I'm past, I'm hoping that, Natty, I might be done with Natty Light. Like I can afford, if I'm playing beer pong, to buy some Bud Light. We can do it these days. So maybe I'm done there too. You never know. But
I'm a Coors Light guy.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, you're right.
Making the same point.
Anyway, Matt, this was fun, man. This is it. End of the road, baby.
Wild to think about it. It's been a great year. Can't wait to do some marathon matchups starting next season. And I'm sure we'll be on some NBA stuff going forward here. But until next NFL season, guys, thank you for hanging with us.
Here's a send-off. Let's shout out all of our winners that got into the Awesemo Hall of Fame. Stick right here on the channel. Greg and Ryan coming up with the FanUp show right after this. And hit that thumbs up as you wait for them. Go to awesemo.com/avatar, download the avatar, and use it on whatever site you play. You finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, you know what happens? Well, you tweet us at Awesemo HOF. You get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. We shout you out here. We do the bragging for you on the Hall of Fame segment, just like A. Anderson, 100K up top. And then Palikuris, I guess, 28,000 there. First and second in the fadeaway the other day. Huge stuff. Our boy T.O. Deck, $13,000, taking that one down, bringing his 2022 to a solid level. And then you got HJK. Here's a new one, $1,800. Choppy audio on the Always Entertaining Live Before Lock shares there. All I heard was Greg say 100% Lance Stevenson and Lock. Hey, we'll take it, man. And then Andy, 250, Mr. B, 14, 5K, NBA SWAT. What else do we got? Zoot. He DM'd me and told me I was pronouncing his name wrong. So, Zoot. Good stuff. He's been up here a lot. Frequent super chatter. We like him. Zoot. Second place, 433. Congrats to you. And then Daniel, first place, 250. Huge thanks to Ship My Money and Awesemo for the GPP plays that landed me on Dennis Smith Jr. and Whiteside. It's a good way to end it, Matt. That's it. It's a lot of fun.
Sure is, man.
Now go steal some Johnny Blue. Why don't you?
Sounds good, man.
I mean, I think anyone in their right minds would have done that, right?
Didn't I just make the right decision? I just made the rational decision.
They would have thrown it out. They're not going to pour it back in the bottle.
Circumstances I was given. Thank you.
You know what happened? Someone else would have drank it if you didn't. And then you'd sit there and be like, I'm trying to be a good person. And I should have known that everyone else wasn't going to do the right thing. So why should I? That's a good way to live life.
That's right.
We'll see you guys back here tonight for the ranking show. Josh's 1:30 trade deadline show. NBA Deeper Dive live before lock. And then the ranking show, Ben, Eric, and myself for the Super Bowl, 8 p.m. tonight. Hang out, have some drinks with us. We got a lot coming up throughout the day. Thanks as always. Don't go anywhere. The FanUp Strategy Show coming up next. Peace.
See ya.
Going on, guys? It is the Awesemo FanUp strategy show. If you guys are not aware, it's the Super Bowl this weekend, Sunday to be more exact. And we've got Rayen here. We're going to be breaking down the FanUp contest that they're running for the Super Bowl. Also, if you guys have not done so yet, download the FanUp app. Use the promo code Awesemo. You don't have to put $1 down. Don't have to put anything down. You just sign up using that promo code Awesemo. Get $25 for free in your account, which is good for 2,000 bonus points. So you guys should be checking that out. And we're going to be going through this contest now and just running through some of the best plays to take for the Super Bowl single game contest. There's no salary cap at all at FanUp. One thing that does differentiate itself, there's something called the flex position where you get 1.5x the fantasy points for the player we're going to put in there, which is either going to be a running back, a wide receiver, or tight end. So we're walking through some of the best strategies here. Rayen, how do you approach this FanUp contest with it being just one game and no salary cap?
One game, no salary cap. You got to get a little too cute, I think. You got to force yourself to be too cute. People are just going to jam in Cooper Kupp at the flex. And I think if you want to win it, I think you want to force yourself to get a little uncomfortable and make tough decisions.
Yeah, I think that's a good way, but let's get too cute. We're going to call that a Jordan Klein, getting too cute, a little Jordan Klein. And let's start at the quarterback position where we've got two to choose from: Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow. We don't have them projected that much differently over at Awesemo.com. So when you look at the quarterbacks, how do you differentiate between the two? Is it something where you're building multiple lineups and you're kind of trying to make some lineups with Burrow, some with Stafford, or maybe you're trying to make the rest of your lineup correlate with them? Or do you have like a real lean here?
Yeah, this is kind of a toss up. None of these guys truly present a rushing upside on the ground. They're your old fashioned traditional standard quarterbacks that they're going to throw the ball a ton, and it kind of comes down to a coin flip. They're both have excellent stacking partners. Obviously, Stafford has Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp, while Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. Very similar passing options on both ends. But I'm just going to lean with Matthew Stafford. They're favored. More points are definitely going to align with Matt Stafford and his receiving partners. So I'm going to go with Matt Stafford. But I have no issues falling on Joe Burrow. My only concern with Joe Burrow is the defensive line of the Rams is amazing, and the offensive line of the Bengals is the opposite of amazing. And we're going to see a lot of Von Miller and Aaron Donald up in Joe Burrow's grill and knocking out those freshman years he's gotten over the past couple of months.
I bet an alternate line for this game, Ryan. It is the Rams for 6+ sacks. We've already seen Joe Burrow get sacked. It was 9 times against the Titans. And I think we've kind of forgotten about how leaky an offensive line could be because the teams look so good in recent games, but they've had some favorable matchups against weaker pass rushes. I think this could be a disaster of a matchup for Joe Burrow and the Bengals offensive line. So I think that is something to keep an eye on. I also have a slight lean towards Matthew Stafford. If you look at our projections, we've got Stafford projected for a little bit more fantasy points, not anything really significant. Something else I point out about FanUp. Anybody who likes to do the dumb strategy of playing backup quarterbacks in single game contests, we don't even have to consider that here. They've excluded the guys like Brandon Allen and John Wolford from the player pool, which I guess would be nice if there was a couple people who are like, I'm going to really differentiate by playing quarterbacks who are not starting. No reason to go ahead and do that. Anything else you want to add from the quarterback position? There's only 2 guys to choose from, so it's hard to find many talking points.
Yeah, at the quarterback position, and I think where we can get different on a one-game slate is their receiving partners that correlate with Matt Stafford. Very ironically, both tight ends for both Stafford and Burrow did get injured in the conference championship game. We did get a 2-week rest period with the Pro Bowl in between, but we'll touch on those tight ends. It's a toss-up. It's clearly a coin flip for me. You can go either way, and I have no issues falling on either Burrow or Stafford. But what you do with the receivers and the flex, I think, is where you get different on FanUp.
Yeah, and I mean, now talking about the running backs, this is another position that's really difficult to really differentiate because just some quick math, Ryan. There's 2 teams. 1 game, we could only choose. We have to choose 2 running backs. We only have starting running backs to choose from, which are going to be Joe Mixon, Cam Akers. To me, Joe Mixon, it's really hard to get away from playing Joe Mixon here. Maybe you could reason to going with like a Sony Michel over Cam Akers. Akers has had his injury issues this year, torn Achilles early in the year, banged up his shoulder last week. Do you see any reasonable way to make lineups that include running backs other than Mixon or Akers?
Maybe Michel, if you think Michel gets the goal line work, or if you think an awful game streak for the Bengals, which can totally happen, if you can throw in a Rayen, but the opportunity cost is a little too high. When it's such a filtered out player pool with Mixon, Akers, and Michel, and you can't really go to them you can't really play one of these guys at flex because that's just going to force you to land on. Let's say you play Mixon at your flex spot on FanUp, and there is a chance that he can just obliterate the slate. But it's more likely than not you're going to sacrifice a ton of just raw points just go falling on a Akers Michel running back lineup or an Akers Rayen lineup where the raw points seemingly won't really add up to Mixon's production, I don't think, unless Mixon puts up 50 fantasy points and there's no one else who's within like 30 points of him, which can certainly happen. But that's like a very top 0.1% outcome. So naturally, just like building in like an optimal build, it's going to be Mixon and Akers in terms of a raw points type of situation.
Yeah, it's hard to get away from. And then, also it's if we don't want to roster other running backs, it's hard to really reasonable putting one of these guys in the flex spot because like we're talking about with opportunity cost here, let's say Joe Mixon goes out, like you're saying, scores a bunch of fantasy points. you have him in the flex spot, okay, but then like is Sony Michel or Samaje Perine likely to put up a game that matches whatever other wide receivers are out there? Not all that likely. So best course of action here, I think, is you go with Mixon and Akers at running back. Here's where I think we could kind of start mixing it up. Wide receiver, there's actually a lot of good wide receiver options here to choose from, a lot of pass catching talent on both sides of the game. So this is where I think we could really start to make our lineups like a little bit different from other people's in the field, because you can't reasonably do it at running back or at quarterback. But wide receiver, we've got Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, clearly the top two receiving options overall. And before we really start talking about the flex spot, I want to ask you, like, how do you compare the top end wide receivers, Cooper Kupp versus Jamar Chase?
Oh, it's Cooper Kupp by a landslide. It's not even really close for me. And I actually think the difference between Chase and Higgins is not that much different. I think we're going to see Jalen Ramsey following around Jamar Chase a decent amount potentially. And if that's going to happen, if he does follow him around, and it's going to lead to T. Higgins falling on the right side of the offense, where I think he avoids Jalen Ramsey. I think T. Higgins is going to gear up for an explosion game potentially, just because if Ramsey certainly does limit the opposing receiver. And I know Jamar Chase has already built himself as matchup proof. I'm just looking for the path of least resistance. And T. Higgins is certainly a very, very good wide receiver where you can, I think, general public build is going to go. They're going to have in the combination of flex and receiver, Kupp, Chase, and some other receiver. I don't mind having Cooper Kupp in the wide receiver and a T. Higgins. And I think that alone makes your lineup very different. And the upside is certainly still there.
Yeah. And the other thing too, is it's not just T. Higgins to consider instead of Jamar Chase. Like at some point, Tyler Boyd has to come into the mix too. So obviously there's tiers to this. It's, to me, Chase 1, Higgins 2, Tyler Boyd 3, but we're thinking of it in the context of a tournament where how many times is the optimal lineup going to be duped in this? A ton, right? We're going to see a lot of people throw Cooper Kupp in the flex. Then they got, Jamar Chase in there. So who is the other wide receiver that we're going to say outside of that tier of the Higgins, Chase, Cooper Kupp? Who's the next guy that you think makes sense is what we'll consider a contrarian play at wide out?
It's got to be Tyler Boyd. He's got the best narrative on the slate. If you don't know, his recent partner, Anita, Latin superstar, went on the Jimmy Kimmel show and made sure he's going to take care of him the night before the Super Bowl. And that's the best narrative there is. And for those who don't know who Anita is, better Instagram search her, because Tyler Boyd knows what he's doing if he got that.
So I'm gonna push back against that a little bit. Wouldn't the incentive be that he does not receive such rewards unless he plays well in the Super Bowl? Because to me, it seems like he's getting it no matter what, right?
That's a good point, but I mean,
there's no incentive.
I can't imagine better pregame workouts than that. I mean, good for Tyler Boyd. I'm rooting for him.
There is something to be said for locker room morale, and I think that is something. Get him in the right mindset for the game. Make him. Make him happy to play and get him focused on game time.
Let's sure. Be there out in LA and it'll be a good time. But yeah, no, Tyler Boyd. Another thing that might help Tyler Boyd that's getting overlooked is, CJ Uzomah did rip off that knee brace in that Bengals rally. I mean, just to get the crowd hyped up, but he's still wearing a knee brace 3 games before the Super Bowl. And yes, he's going to be out there. To what capacity? Where I know Uzomah has become one of Burrow's favorite targets, but it would not shock me if Tyler Boyd gets a few targets his way in the time where Uzomah is not on the field. Drew Sample has shown the ability to be on the field as a receiving tight end at times, but Tyler Boyd is still a very talented and good NFL wide receiver where you're looking for touchdowns, and Tyler Boyd can certainly give you that.
Yeah, and then I think somebody else who we should mention here, maybe somebody else who kind of could be reserved for a flex conversation talk. We're going really off the board, but Odell Beckham Jr., if we're just talking about upside, Odell Beckham Jr. has really been involved in the red zone for the Rams. And, 2 weeks ago now, but last game we saw him against the 49ers. He was targeted 11 times. He caught 9 passes for 113 yards. The first game they played in the playoffs, he was targeted 8 times. So it seems like there's a lot of workload going to Odell Beckham Jr. Where does he stack up for you relative to the secondary receiving options on the Bengals? Even if Anita was her name?
Anita, yeah. Do me a favor, IG search her while I talk about Odell. But Odell is probably my favorite play on the slate. Look, the one thing that's getting overlooked, Van Jefferson is playing through an injury, and this has just forced the target tree for Matt Stafford to be Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham. It's not just 1 and 2; it's like a 1A, 1B situation where Odell Beckham's been balling, and you best believe Sean McVay is going to make sure Odell Beckham gets involved in the game plan. And we got to see some Odell Beckham tutty dances in the Super Bowl. I mean, that's what Odell is built for. He's built for the bright lights. He's built for touchdowns. I love Odell Beckham in the flex. And if you guys are playing on other sites, captain, MVP, Odell Beckham seems like an awesome low-owned option where the upside's there. And the volume's certainly there. And I think Odell's in store for a big game this weekend in the Super Bowl.
But who's his girlfriend, which I think is also now going to be really important. It's almost like, do you remember have you seen Moneyball?
I have seen Moneyball, yeah.
Yeah, Moneyball, there's the scene where all the scouts are in the room, and it's kind of the difference between the older scouts and the newer scouts. And the older guys are like, oh, well, what does his girlfriend look like? The idea being that how attractive somebody's girlfriend is relative to their confidence meter. So we know that Tyler Boyd apparently playing with confidence. Is Odell Beckham playing with that same confidence?
Yeah, Odell Beckham's on his way to being a new father. I think Lauren Wood is.
Oh my God,
he's doing just fine himself. Yeah, he's doing just fine. Odell Beckham has no issues. I hope he sees the end zone. We need a tutty dance from Odell for sure.
I like how Rayen he's the TMZ of DFS.
You got to keep it. I mean, those help. Knowing what's happening outside the game does help for narratives, and a little psychological analysis can take a long way.
And I think we've pretty much talked on all of the relevant wide receivers. Could you scroll down a little bit, Jordan? I don't even think there's another. Yeah, those are.
I don't think you can play Skoranek or Trent Taylor or any of those guys in this type of format.
Yeah, not that I think I'd want to be playing them anyway, but let's jump over to the tight end position now. We've filled out a couple of wide receivers. Jordan going really bold and contrarian. I see Jordan's lineup. Go back to that for a second. Look at this guy. He plugged in Odell Beckham and Tyler Boyd as his wideouts. He's going with the All Bay team. Look at Jordan Klein. All right, let's go to these.
Shout out producer Jordan. He's going to be.
People don't know Jordan only makes his DFS lineups based on how attractive people's significant others are. The tight end position. I mean, what is there to even say at this point? We talked about this game last week with Terry, and Tyler Higbee, he's banged up. CJ Uzomah, he is banged up. I haven't seen any real definitive updates on these guys. But what's your opinion on if they're going to play, and if they do play, how effective they could be?
Yeah, this is a very tough situation just because we're dealing with medical injuries and it's not limited play. If these guys both play, they're both significant injuries, it seemed like. Now, it'd be a lot nicer if both of these guys are out, just clears our mind and gives us a more narrow target tree option. With both these guys playing, I have a tough time going to any one of these in outright confidence, but you're forced to play one. And honestly, we've seen Kendall Blanton get involved in red zone options throughout the season. He got there in the Tampa Bay game, and he was pretty active last game once Tyler Higbee got hurt. Blanton seems to be ready to go. I think it's got to be Blanton just because I think we could see a timeshare between Uzomah and Sample. But granted, these guys are going to be jacked up on Toradol, and Toradol can take you a long way. It can take you a long way in the Super Bowl, I'm sure, plus the adrenaline. So keep an eye on the news. I still think I'm just going to go with Blanton. I've seen red zone options, and if there is some sort of limitation with Uzomah, which I think there certainly will be, it just limits the ceiling between Sample and Uzomah. And I haven't heard any positive news from Tyler Higbee yet, but if we get Higbee full go, he's my favorite guy on the tight end slate.
Yeah, I mean, as he would be, I assume for most people, he's been the better fantasy producer over CJ Uzomah for basically the entirety of the season. And, I think that's another relevant talking point here, but you already answered the question is if Higbee and Uzomah are both healthy, we'd be going with Higbee there. And then if you look at the backup tight ends, Drew Sample last week, he was targeted 2 times. And keep in mind, Uzomah got hurt very early in that game, only 2 targets for Drew Sample. Whereas Kendall Blanton in the last game, after we saw Higbee got hurt, he played an actual role in the passing game. He had 5 targets. He caught all 5 of them for 57 yards. So to me, it would be Blanton over Sample should both the starting tight ends get ruled out. And there's a part of me that thinks like, oh, can we get really crazy while we transition over to the flex spot here and play one of these tight ends in the flex? Here's the issue then, though, is then that means that we are left with having to play a shitty tight end at the tight end spot that we probably don't want to play. So we're kind of left with this at the flex spot. Would you agree with this, Ryan? We are kind of forced to play a wide receiver at flex.
Correct. I think that is the best way to approach this sort of contest. And the wide receivers from Cooper Kupp, Odell, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd are all viable flex options in this type of situation because it's a one-game slate. NFL variance is pretty high. Touchdowns matter a lot. And you can pinpoint to any one of those guys and they can end the game with 2 touchdowns. And I'll be like, yeah, that can certainly happen. So I think this is where you can differentiate yourself from the field and fall on different receiving options and you pair them up with your quarterback. So let's say Stafford at QB, you can have Odell at the flex or Cooper Kupp at the flex. With Burrow at QB, you can have Tyler Boyd or T. Higgins. I think those two differentiate you the field a lot more than playing Jamar Chase in the flex. But what you are definitely sacrificing upside to gain differentiation among the field, which is very valuable on a one-game slate, especially in a contest format like this where there is no salary cap, where people are just going to jam in the best place, which is fine. But I do think the merit of coming first place is extremely valuable.
So just because Jordan has built this absolutely crazy lineup as he's going along with this show, and it appears he does not have Cooper Kupp in there. As wild as we get with some contrarian lineups here, I don't know that fading Cooper Kupp is one of the routes I'd feel comfortable going down. Like, I think it's contrarian enough to just play Cooper Kupp at, well, now he's got him in there, but I think it's contrarian enough to play Cooper Kupp at wide receiver and not at flex. But do you see any reason to just maybe get off Cooper Kupp entirely?
Really tough for me to get off Cooper Kupp entirely. Game in and game out, he might start slow, but he finds his damn way to get in the end zone. 10 catches, 150 yards, a touchdown. Like every game, it feels like he's been that awesome all season long. And the game plan with him, it's like it should go through Cooper Kupp. He just schemes the defense so well. They just set him up for success game in and game out. Where if you want to get a little different on the lineup presented on the screen right now, I think where you can just swap Beckham and Kupp, and that's another way to just get a little different. And even if you just swap Beckham and Kupp, you can mess around with the Cincinnati receivers by just mixing and matching Boyd, Higgins, and Chase, just swapping those guys around. And I think you can cover your grounds really easily if you build multiple lineups on this contest, where it does. I think you can cover your grounds between like 10 or 12 lineups and you'll be pretty content with your outcome.
You care who your quarterback is relative to your wide receiver that's going to be in the flex spot. Meaning if we're playing Cooper Kupp or Odell Beckham in the flex, or compared to, Jamar Chase or Tyler Boyd in the flex, are you more apt to play your quarterback with whichever wide receivers in the flex spot?
I think so, just to garner all the upside I can. And then there are fluky things that can happen as well. Like we've seen Odell Beckham throw passes in this game, in the league. He's thrown one in the playoffs in the Cardinals game. So there are ways they can certainly get there without the quarterback not getting there. But in just following general one-game slate stacking purposes and correlation, this seems the best way to approach such slate.
All right. That is going to do it for us. That is covering all the players we really have to talk about. Super Bowl, it's one game, and there's not all that many players there. We hit it all.
Wins? Who do you think wins the game?
Rams. I think the defensive line of the Rams is going to present a lot of issues for the Bengals offensive line. I have actually seen some books have dropped the line to -3.5. I think that's pretty interesting to me. But yeah, I think the Rams present a lot of issues for the Bengals. So that's what I'm going with. What's going to be your official pick, Ryan?
Oh, I think, Sean McVay lost a lot of sleep the last time he was in the Super Bowl when I think didn't get in the end zone. It was the low scoring game between him and the Pats from 3 years ago at this point. I think Rams in a rout. I think this game gets really ugly real fast. I think Matt Stafford just lights him up. I could see like a 3-tutty difference in outcome. I think it's a rout. I don't think it's a very close matchup.
I cannot believe you did not bring Sean McVay's girlfriend into your analysis there.
Hey, can't you see the team constructed on the field on the show right now? It's all centered around McVay's game plan. Which,
once again, Sean McVay, I have it on good word. His girlfriend is going to leave him if the Rams don't win this weekend. Extra motivation for Sean McVay to really game plan properly. Do us a favor, guys. Like this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Sign up at FanUp for the first time using the promo code Awesemo. And one more thing. check out the giveaway we have pinned on our Awesemo_com on Twitter. We're going to be doing a giveaway for a free year Awesemo Plus Platinum. All you have to do is reply whether you think Joe Burrow or Matthew Stafford will have more passing yards. Follow the instructions there. Check that out. Free giveaway. Guys, good luck. Enjoy the Super Bowl.